presenting, and every jest but a word. Today we're going to be looking at page 127 of the comedies in the first folio, in a scene from Love's Labour's Lost. What we'll be looking at is in the green box. It's simply 5 little lines between Lady Maria, Boyer, and the princess. It's from Act 2, Scene 1. Maria begins with, "That last is Biron, the merry madcap lord. Not a word with him but a jest." To which Boyer adds, "And every jest but a word." Princess quips with, "It was well done of you to take him at his word." Boyer finishes with, "I was as willing to grapple as he was to board." Notwithstanding the double entendre in the last line, I believe these lines form a riddle. Biron is the first item. Sometimes people call him Byron, sometimes he's called Baron, sometimes he's also Brown. But we're just going to stick with what's in the folio for today. Are these 2 lines? To me, they obviously form a riddle. Not a word with him but a jest, and every jest but a word. The riddle is in 3 parts. The first is Baron, or however you want to pronounce it, who is a foil for the writer. So we can identify the writer through what we get out of this riddle, because we're going to identify Baron with something in the riddle. Hint number 1 is a word from lines 2 and 3. No more hints. Try to solve it. For viewers who want to solve it, just press pause and try and figure out what I figured out. For those who want to know the solution, in 5 seconds, I will present my solution step by step so you know exactly what the logic is behind the riddle. In Maria's second line, obviously refers to Baron. He is beside jest, a word. The phrase every jest in the third line is the next clue. The word but changes meaning between the lines in an example of antenoclasis, a form of rhetorical figure. In the first part of the riddle, It means only or other than. So we can translate this as there is no other word beside him other than or only jest or a jest. In line 3, it means without, so we can translate it as plus every jest without a word. We use the word but in this fashion a lot of the time in English. We say, yeah, Susan and Jeffrey went, but Sarah did not go, meaning that she is excluded from what Susan and Jeffrey are doing. So we are to remove a word from Boyer's line. So what word would you remove? To put it another way, what word in Boyer's line is identified with around? Or what word is beside him? What word is beside jest? If you have solved this part of the riddle correctly, it is well done, as the princess says. You are left with every. His word. But what does every mean in the context of the riddle? In order to understand it, we have to understand the historical context of the word. Spanish and all things Spanish was all the rage in England at the time. Don Quixote of La Mancha was first translated. There were Spanish translations of Spanish poetry and other Spanish works. The next clue is, what is the Spanish word for and that begins Boyer's line? Can you find it in Boyer's line? Is it in his word? As the Spanish would say, obviamente, absolutely, the letter Y. So Barone, the foil for the writer, is somehow hidden in ever plus Y, or E in Spanish. However, this is not quite proper grammar. Ever E, ever and, unless you're putting something behind the and, as in forever and ever, or forever and a day. But this is just a bit better. And ever. E, ever. So is this. Ever, E, jest. In a multilingual pun, ever and jest, or joke. Here at last is the real identity of Barone in the word ever. Queen's unofficial jester. Merry Madcap Lord. Edward de Vere. E. Ver. Get it? That leaves us with Boyer's last line. The line refers to naval battles. I was as willing to grapple as he was to board, as well as having a sexual double entendre meaning. One of these guys should have a grappling hook to board the enemy ship. But it could mean the jesting lord also tread the boards or acted. If we have solved this correctly, this means that E. Ver was probably the Queen's unofficial jester. In other words, Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, was Barone, his foil in Love's Labour's Lost, and he was also Shakespeare. Thanks for watching.